There is a physician in the United States right now earning $380,000 a year who cannot afford to take a month off work. Not because she doesn't want to, because if she stops working for 30 days, she cannot cover her fixed expenses. There is a partner at a law firm pulling in $620,000 annually who has less than $40,000 in liquid savings. He has a mortgage on a house worth $2.1 million, two car leases, private school tuition for 3 children, and a country club membership he never actually uses. These are not rare exceptions. These are not cautionary tales cherry-picked from the extremes. Multiple studies of physician and attorney finances have found that a significant percentage of high-earning professionals in both fields reach their late 50s with a net worth that would be considered inadequate for someone earning a third of their income. The question isn't why this happens to people who don't understand money. The question is why it happens specifically to people who are among the most educated, most disciplined, and most analytically capable professionals in the entire economy. The answer will make you rethink everything you think you know about income and wealth. Before we get to the spending, we need to talk about time. Because doctors and lawyers don't just earn a lot of money, they earn it late. The average physician completes their training. 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, 3 to 7 years of residency and fellowship, somewhere between age 30 and 35. The average attorney who makes partner at a large firm does so around age 35 to 40 after years of associate level grinding. By the time these professionals start earning their high incomes, their peers in other fields have already been investing for a decade. A software engineer who started at $85,000 at age 22 and invested consistently has a 10 to 15 year head start on compound growth. Here's what that head start actually means in numbers. Someone who invests $1,000 per month starting at age 22 will have approximately $1.1 million by age 52, assuming a 7% average annual return. Someone who starts the same investment at age 32 will have approximately $510,000 by the same age. Same discipline, same contribution. A $590,000 difference created entirely by a 10-year delay. Doctors and lawyers don't just start late, they start late while carrying extraordinary debt. The average medical school graduate in the United States finishes with over $200,000 in student loans. The average law school graduate from a top program carries between $150,000 and $250,000. These debts don't pause while they're in residency, earning $60,000 a year. They accumulate interest every single month for years before the high income ever arrives. So the starting line for a physician or attorney isn't zero. It's deeply negative, and the clock on compound growth has already been running against them for a decade before their career even begins. Here is where the psychology becomes devastating. After 8 to 15 years of poverty-level income, brutal hours, crushing debt, and deferred gratification, the high income finally arrives. And the brain does something completely predictable. It decompresses. Psychologists who study income transitions in high-earning professionals found a consistent pattern they call reward rebound, the tendency to overcorrect spending after a prolonged period of financial restriction. The longer the deprivation period, the more aggressive the rebound. And few professional groups have experienced a longer or more intense deprivation period than physicians and attorneys in training. The $4,500 per month apartment feels reasonable after years of living in a resident studio. The BMW lease feels earned after a decade of driving a 2009 Civic through 100-hour work weeks. The expensive dinners feel like a basic human right after years of eating vending machine food between 18-hour hospital shifts. And this is the critical moment where the financial trajectory gets set, not gradually, but almost instantly. because the lifestyle that gets established in the first 2 to 3 years of high income becomes the baseline. Every future raise, every bonus, every partnership distribution gets absorbed into maintaining and expanding that baseline rather than building wealth. Behavioral economists call this the hedonic treadmill. The spending level rises to meet the income level, the new level quickly feels normal, and the finish line of enough keeps moving forward. For doctors and lawyers who spent their most formative adult years in deprivation, the treadmill doesn't just activate, it accelerates. What makes the doctor and lawyer situation uniquely dangerous compared to other high earners is the specific structure of the debt they accumulate. Most high earners build lifestyle debt gradually. A car upgrade here, a bigger mortgage there, spending that creeps upward over years. Physicians and attorneys build what financial researchers call structural debt architecture, multiple, large, fixed, simultaneous obligations that arrive within a very short window. Think about what happens in the 3 to 5 years after a doctor finishes training. They buy a home sized to their new income. Average physician home purchase is 20 to 30% more expensive than comparable non-physician households at the same age. They start a family, often having delayed it through training. Private school tuition becomes a fixed cost within years. They acquire vehicles appropriate for their perceived professional status. They join the professional social circles of their colleagues, where the spending expectations are calibrated to attending physician income, not resident income. Each of these decisions happens quickly. Each is individually defensible, and collectively they create a fixed cost structure that requires the full physician or attorney income to sustain every single month indefinitely. The structure becomes load-bearing, which means it cannot be reduced without the entire architecture threatening to collapse. A physician who wants to cut back to part-time work doesn't just earn less money. They trigger a structural crisis across the mortgage, the tuition, the leases, the debt payments, all simultaneously. That is not financial flexibility. That is a gilded trap with a very expensive lock. There is one final mechanism that makes this problem self-reinforcing in a way that almost no other profession experiences. Doctors compare themselves to doctors. Lawyers compare themselves to lawyers. These are not random peer groups. These are tightly clustered professional communities where income is relatively visible, lifestyle is publicly displayed, and social identity is heavily tied to professional achievement. When every colleague drives a luxury vehicle, owns a large home in the right neighborhood, and sends their children to private school, the psychological pressure to match that standard is not mild social discomfort. It is a constant, daily, identity-level threat. Researchers studying consumption patterns in professional peer groups found that high earners in visible status professions spend significantly more on observable lifestyle markers, homes, vehicles, clothing, restaurants, than equally high-earning individuals in less socially visible careers. The doctor doesn't just want the house. The doctor needs the house to signal that they belong to the group that their training, sacrifice, and identity have been building toward for 15 years. This is not vanity, it is deeply human. But it is financially catastrophic when the peer group's spending baseline is itself built on the same broken architecture everyone else in the group is quietly maintaining. Understanding the trap is not enough. Here is what actually changes the outcome. The physicians and attorneys who retire with genuine financial security share one behavior that separates them from their broke colleagues. They treated their first high-income year as a continuation of resident-level spending, not as a reward for surviving residency. They did not decompress. They automated. Before the lifestyle had a chance to expand, they built automatic investment contributions at resident income levels. They added to those contributions with every raise rather than absorbing the raise into lifestyle. They made the wealth-building contribution the fixed expense and treated everything else as the variable. This sounds simple. It is psychologically one of the hardest things a newly attending physician or newly made partner will ever do, because every signal in their environment is telling them they have finally earned the right to spend. The second behavior is treating net worth as the metric that matters, not income. A physician earning $380,000 with a net worth of $200,000 is not wealthy. A teacher earning $65,000 with a net worth of $800,000 is. The salary creates the feeling of financial security. The assets create the reality of it. Every year, a high-earning professional tracks their income and ignores their net worth is a year the illusion gets more comfortable and the reality gets harder to face. The third behavior, and this one is specific to the delayed start problem, is treating the wealth-building window as finite and urgent. Because it is. A physician who starts seriously building wealth at 45 instead of 35 doesn't just have 10 fewer years of contributions. They have 10 fewer years of compound growth on every dollar that was invested in their 30s. That gap does not close with a raise. It does not close with a bonus. Time was the asset, and once it's spent, no income in the world buys it back. The doctors and lawyers who die broke are not failures. They are not irresponsible people. They are highly disciplined, highly intelligent professionals who were handed a financial architecture specifically designed to consume every dollar they earned. And nobody warned them it was happening until it was too late to rebuild. If your income has grown but your net worth hasn't followed, the architecture is already in place. The only question is whether you recognize it before the window closes. Subscribe to Money Made Simple for new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The next video covers exactly how to calculate whether your net worth is where it should be for your age and income, and what to do if it isn't.